This is generally like my first sort of talk at these meetups, and it might go a bit flaky at some point. Generally not a good public speaker, but I'm just sort of gonna put it back and see how it goes. But yeah, if anything does fail, just expect it. It's better on the other side. So I'm gonna start with like an introduction of like who I am and how I got into the industry, and also give you a little bit of a description and give sort of background context of what the talk is going to be about. So my name is David Jeche. I alias as Merlin the Initiate, and like online and whatnot, or wherever else it may be. And also, to describe myself as a person, I would describe myself as a general passionate technologist with an emphasis on distributed systems and security. So I've been in the industry altogether like around just about 3 years now. Maybe, you can add like a half on there if you want, but yeah, so I've been here roughly 3 years. Getting into the industry, I suppose it all started at Xenos. And there was just like a IT support apprenticeship, doing general sort of Windows support stuff, but it was pretty cool in that it gave me an insight into what is going on in regards to corporate technology. So like I was generally, prior to that, was really exposed to like, the in-house Windows XP corner computer there, and then the one in my auntie's, and then the one at so on and so on. But once I got to sort of Xenos, I got the picture of like what companies are trying to get out of this, and the sort of customer service aspect, support type of thing, and the general, like what's work, how you expect it to behave at work, blah, 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 although I forgot that now. So coming from Xenos, I went onwards to do a network management and security degree at Middlesex University. And that was generally like a sort of insight and gave me like a, okay, so there's more to just the general IT support stuff. Like the sort of bigger picture going on, there's these things called servers, there's distributed algorithms, there's load balancers. Although I didn't really get what they were at the time, but like it was like, it gave me an insight into like, programming, all that type of stuff. But it was still at the fundamental level. It wasn't really at that, there were still things missing, which I'll sort of explain down the line. So, in general, sort of like my experience, so, the building blocks to my career to get to where I am now. As a first-line support technician at Fujitsu, which is my first job out of university, was really cool, doing a bit of, Linux, Windows, stuff administration, but it was first-line support. Wouldn't say phone monkey stuff, because there was some sort of, stuff that you were expected to do, some troubleshooting, but it wasn't in-depth enough for what I sort of wanted to do. So I sort of jumped on from there and sort of left that, and went on to Paulsent to work in a data center as a technical support engineer. There it was more sort of interesting. It was like, okay, cool. There's this stuff downstairs that makes a lot of noise, and there's all these servers and what, and sorry,
you've got to press more buttons. I think that's a cue to talk faster. One. I told you everything that would go wrong.
Alright, cool. So from there, yeah, so in Paulsent, it was just data center stuff. It was more sort of servers doing sort of customer support and co-location, remote hands requests, that type of thing, and also some debugging that was sort of more technically to the standard that I sort of wanted it to be. And then from Paulsent, once that sort of finished, I went on to Grabio, my first DevOps engineer role. Now this time I was sort of getting into the cloud side of things. Previously to that, it was more sort of, not really DevOpsy, but sort of technical support aspect of things. And then sort of So at Grabby, I got an introduction into sort of DevOps. What's DevOps? I started using Chef. I started sort of working on AWS. Got an insight into hybrid clouds and that type of thing. Got an insight into like what a startup organization is and what that particular network might actually entail. And then from there, I went on to Google Cloud to work as a technical support engineer, general stuff, you know, like was supporting Chromebooks and Chrome browser, but like there was a whole load of other stuff. The best thing about that job, right, was I had free credits to Google Cloud platform, so I could like just go ham for as long as I wanted to. Like I could do whatever I really, really wanted to for, you know, there wasn't really a restriction, just like just go, it's like yeah, just enjoy it. And yeah, so from there and then after that I went to work as a support engineer, NOC engineer at a company called Yoti doing like digital identity stuff. That was cool as well, but you know, gave me exposure to different things. And I sort of saw what soft stack looks like in production, and it wasn't. Yeah, it's an interesting tool, and regular meetup attended, and I like to generally experiment in my own time in my sort of cloud environment. So the first bit, right? You got to define like mastery. So this talks about centered around some type of mastery. Now, what is mastery? People definitely 120% have this thing construed. I'm sure that some people probably think like it's like something else that it probably isn't. But in general, the sort of general definition is comprehensive knowledge or skill in a particular subject or activity and control or superiority over something. So one thing that's really important to like sort of, you know, take note here is that, you know, it's a particular subject or activity and it's something, it's not particularly defined or restricted to a particular industry, particular job type, particular social class or particular anything. It's just, it's a method of, it can relate to anything at all levels of society and whatever the case may be. This is just a general assumption. So for example, if you're a cleaner, for example, and you're really good at the cleaning that you do, and you understand your environment and your work, what you're particularly doing really, really well, you have attained some level of mastery, but there will be those above you as well, like that have general things. So and so identifying those in pursuit of that thing. So like how do you know if somebody's pursuing or if anybody's on that particular path? And it's generally things like little things like that you look for, or things that are described in job descriptions. So somebody that's like that pursues greatness in their work. You know, somebody who's creative and ingenuity, or you know, that type of thing, or somebody that's consistently and is always persisting for some form of continuous improvement, which is something that is a big requirement within our particular sort of industry and what we do with all the sort of, you know, you got to keep learning new tools, new things all the time. So continuous improvement is a big part of that, and sort of the creativity and the sort of having greatness and pride in your work and pursuing that sort of greatness and pride in your work. It sets you aside, or it makes you sort of, you know, on road to that mastery part. Whether you acknowledge it or not, you will be on that particular role. So, you know, identifying those who have actually attained that level or a level of mastery, sort of, you know.
Wiggle the mouse. You go over there. Carry on the talk. I'm going to press control. You've all seen Lost, right?
Alright, cool. So it's just like identify those who like identifying people with like, you know, experience, mentorship, and you know, people that can sort of manipulate technology to make it some particular outcome that they're intending to get out. So, for example, people that write the protocols that enable us to do our job, or write software that runs on top of those particular protocols, are generally like those people that are able to manipulate technology to a particular degree. And heroism, you know, a person is admired for their courage, outstanding achievements, and noble quality. Heroes exist all throughout society. You know, heroes exist. There's like an ecosystem of heroism in that, you know, your actions affect. They sort of go around. It goes around in this loop thing, and like I put that picture there. I don't know if anybody knows this or knows what caused that particular thing there. No? Okay, cool. So that's Breaking Bad, and this was like a sort of accident that was caused because basically what the guy had done, he sort of like done something bad to someone, like killed someone or whatever, like watched them die or whatever, didn't help them, and then that person's daughter turned out to be the traffic control person, and when they got to work, they were like really tired, and then they weren't doing their job right, and then there was like this plane crash, and then that's how we sort of ended up in this scene. So that just sort of explains like how things go around in a circle and how everything is sort of interlinked to come to a sort of to a sort of round robin. Everything comes back round. Yeah, exactly. So heroes are vital to the progression of society because they're the people that push society forward. And work in general, and to be a hero, you don't necessarily need to be a master. So, for example, you can be the sort of tech lead at home, and generally you don't need to be a master at like computing or whatever particular industry or in whatever particular context that might be in. But it's generally defined by the people around you in regards to your actions or your mastery. How does it affect the people around you in order to achieve something? So another good example is like a medical practitioner and the tech lead at home. They're both considered heroes, but in different degrees and different lights. And also, generally, so for the good side of things, the noble qualities, you're generally expected to be a good person, a good team player, all that type of stuff that they sort of ask for is one thing that you sort of expect from somebody that you consider a hero. You wouldn't expect them to be a word that can't be said, but can be read. Right, so achieving technical mastery, right. So everything in this talk that I'm sort of talking about today is all sort of sourced from this book, which I've read, haven't finished, so some of the information is not fully 100% accurate, but I've sort of skimmed through to give you guys because I know that you guys are probably different levels compared to me. So ways of attaining mastery, most people say 10,000 hours are like this thing, apparently if you do 10,000 hours, you've achieved it, but really, it's not true. Mentorship and apprenticeship is one good way to do that, but it doesn't really get you there to where you need to be, to a level where other people might respect you with a specific level of thingy. And also continuous study, research, and continuous practice. All those stuff there, yes, they're all good and everything, but one without the other is generally tends to be really, really crappy and doesn't really get you sort of anywhere. So it's worth also mentioning that like within our industry, like people tend to be very smuggy, and like once you get to a specific level, once you do something, you tend to think that you're the shit. But really and truly, we should calm down and realize that there are actual levels, especially in our industry. Like yes, there's definitely a bunch of masters sitting amongst us now. The majority of you are probably at that stage and at that level, but then there's another level of above you, which is like the grandmasters, the guys in the universities that are sitting there writing and trying to figure out this thing hardcore, writing research papers, and not just sort of doing it for work. So we should always take that into consideration. Never think that you are the complete, because most of the time, unless you're in some, so no one thing can attain your mastery. Is like a mix of things, and those things come together, which is like all these other things to sort of compose and give you a clear guidance or sort of end goal. And that's the job that Robert Greene's done here. He's tried to take those things using examples from people in the past and put it into sort of one book so that people can follow and try to figure out. Well, it's kind of like a map. It's an attempt of a map anyway. Thing it, so guide is a clear path, etc. So with master delivery pipeline, right? I tried to sort of create a pipeline because the talk's not really that technical. So I thought, if I throw the word pipeline in, delivery pipeline, it's gonna work out. So I tried it. I made a flow chart. It's just terrible, but just give it a go. So first thing you have to define to yourself what a master is to you. There is no clear definition like in the world. So only you can define, because you have to walk that journey, and then once you get to where you're going, only you will know, it's not going to be, like other people can tell, oh my God, you're on a Windows command prompt, wow, that type of thing, like other people might define it like this master is really, you got to give that sort of thing to yourself. So achieving that and getting there, I guess one main thing to sort of point out is, take advantage of open source technology and open source things going on, and also, take advantage of the cloud. Like the open source technology thing kind of enables you to get closer to the technology without having to pay some guy like 12K for a VPN. You can just go to Open VPN or like whatever the case may be. Sometimes these things were very restricted from people a long time ago, where you need a lot of money in order to even begin to even think about doing any of these things. But now it's just like, dude, just go kill the binary, run it, good to go. Spin up an instance, you're generally fine. And another thing in regards to sort of the mastery to pipeline is the sort of diversity aspect of things. In regards to sort of our industry, so like if you like look around, just like industry, I know that it's not like it's not a good example per se, because generally it's just not everybody comes to meetups, right? But like I've been to a few meetups, been to a few companies, and I don't think that it's a thing where like anybody's being like discriminating against anyone. But my general sort of thing is like like you tend not to see like that many sort of older sort of they're there, but like older black people sort of, or whatever other there is other races. But for me personally, like black people, it's like hard to sort of see them sort of like see many of them, I guess, in that aspect. As I was coming up in the sort of industry, my general assumption was that since like it's been a while and like back in the day things were a bit more sort of racist, both in England and anywhere else amongst the world. I just assumed that people were prevented access into the industry, so hence you don't have that many experienced people around or something like that. That's my general assumption of like, that's why you got like more sort of white senior people or like other races, senior, it doesn't have to be particularly white, but like that are in these senior positions that you sort of, come to for, hey, teach me this, as opposed to like, that's that. But I don't feel like it's like that anymore, and I always like, engage people to always try to sort of reach out to those particular aspects of things. If you can, you can't really control it, because if somebody's shit, then they're shit. You can't really do anything about it, right? But again, at the same time, if you have the capability of bringing somebody on, or you have the capability to train somebody, you should always sort of take it and try to be diverse about it if you can. I don't know what the numbers are, but I'll do one day. I'm going to do a degree and I'll find out what's going on. At the moment, I don't know what it is. So, all right, cool. So, generally, here I was going to I'll go here, right? So, this is the sort of my attempt at a pipeline. Although it's a really, really crappy pipeline, it's not a pipeline, it's a flow chart, but it's sort of attempted to like, let me just connect this bit to the beginning again to like start again and start doing that. So, in the beginning, you're sort of expected to discover your calling, whatever that may be. It could be anything. It could be at any time at all. There's no time limit on this. It could be at any time at all. You discover your calling, and then once you've identified your calling, you pursue that. You try to get to an apprenticeship or try to get someone somewhere into a production environment or whatever the case may be. And this is already sort of our industry. Whereas, if you don't find your particular calling, do something else, survive until you find it, and just keep going around in that circle. Ideally, if not, the ideal apprenticeship is just basically getting into a workplace with other people that are doing the same thing in your particular industry. Identify a master. Once you find a master, you need a master. Without a master, you are not going to go anywhere. You are just going to be running around in circles for most of the time, reading Stack Overflow stuff and watching YouTube videos continuously, trying to identify what's going on, but it's not going to be the same. You could get there, but you're better off just use other means to identify another master if you can. And then, once you've identified a master, you have to absorb the master's power and like create like this sort of thing where you take from them what they've learned in the industry, and you bring it into yourself, and you sort of generally learn from that as much as you can. Personally, for me, the person that I first identified as a master was a guy called Chris Kimberg from my university. He was there first year and second year. Third year he wasn't there, but like this dude, I don't know what he was, but the guy was just super, like, I don't know, he just changed everything and made me just like be like, oh my god, technology. And yeah, that's generally it. And then generally the social intelligence aspect, you have to learn to see people as they are. Social intelligence is very important for any sort of type of mastery type thing, because without it, whatever mastery you gain is not real and it's fake, apparently, and generally true. And you know, the creative active, that's another thing. Like once you've sort of leveled up a bit more, you're going to get to this level where you're creating and fusing. Like this is the level of mastery now. We're just starting to create things, like what they're doing at Codeflow, like what they did at HashiCorp. You know, you start creating your own tools based on your own experience and knowledge and that type of thing, and then you start to sort of bring that up and bring it up into sort of tuition and making things happen, you know, contributing to the society, to the goal that we sort of have as DevOps engineer, which is to sort of, you know, serve humanity's technical requirements at a higher stage. And then, so this, right, so from my personal experience, I've always had like an issue where the biggest problem for me is social intelligence. I don't have that. And that's one of those chapters that like I jumped over, but like I should definitely go back and read, because I'm completely crap at that. I don't like the whole social aspect of things is just completely terrible. Especially at work and different other places, it's just worse. I wish I could just find like a hole somewhere where you can just like, you know, go work on yourself and just like, you know, I can talk to people on a keyboard and get my opinions and stuff, but it's difficult otherwise. So generally, like I tend to have like two modes, where that's how I've come to think of it in my head, where you have two modes. The one's the initiate, the other one's Merlin. The initiate is more like the learner, so, you know, most times, there might be a time where I might be in a conversation, hear something, and I might know that it's wrong, or I might know that it's right, I might know there's a better way to do it, but I will not say anything, and I will generally learn from the other person, put myself in the learning seat for that whole entire ride, or for that particular engagement. And then Merlin is like the active side, where sometimes, you know, I might come up and just be like, no, you're trying shit, you can't do that, or no, you're doing that wrong, or no, that does not make sense at all, where it's more active, more confident, more sort of all the sort of positive side of it and bite. And then, so the general idea is that, you know, you do this 0 and this 1 is like, you know, by pulsating and flipping between these modes, you know, at the end of it, of that particular work exercise, or at the end of that particular whatever zone, whatever cycle that might be in that delivery pipeline thing, you know, you sort of formulate a picture and formulate a sort of object, a binary object, like get some goal out of it if you can, and pass it through that, and that's pretty much it. And the general technical heroism, so I'll breeze through quickly, is just the importance of DevOps in your cycle. You know, it's very important because we're all helping each other in the organization, right? So if something's down, if a server's down, you know, business or people in business might contact technical support, right? So to them, so the customer will contact business people, or they might contact technical support depending on how it's configured, but you know, let's say they contact the business department, to them, to the customer, the business department is the customer's hero because they know what's happening, and then so on, business department contact technical support to DevOps, and likewise, it's just like this type of thing, yeah. And that's it. So main things, you need to identify your limitations. True heroes need some level of production, you know, you need production experience to that. Anyone on call is particular reader. Currently we got the tool stack and the tech stack that you use and the tool stack, etc. So like taking on new tools and stuff that other people have been tested is like courageous to some degree. Create your solutions and new problems, Codeflow, HashiCorp, and collaboration between teams, you know. That's very important. Like just like, you know, that's the world that you're looking after as a hero, is like you need to collaborate between different teams in order to achieve that. And then I think sleep is very important, because, you know, that guy that stays up and tries to pick something before morning time before everybody gets in is generally a hero that's just, he doesn't really get his desserts. And last but not least, it's like, there's a quote from Gilgamesh where it says that, for it is not for a man to live forever, but for his creation to carry his name into generations to come. And generally for us, I guess that would mean that, you know, we don't create stuff for people, but we always leave a little something if we can, a little text file somewhere in whatever architecture that you're doing, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, and that's me, and I'm looking. I know people don't say I'm hiring, but I'm looking, and they are anyway.
David, for a very personal talk. So thank you very much for that. I enjoyed that. Just time for one quick question, if anyone's got one. You said.
What's your next objective in the next 5 years?
That's an interesting question.
Short version.
Okay. Short version. I don't know. I want to do big data stuff, I guess. I think that's what I want to do, but I don't know. So it's so vague. It's just get a job first, and then I'll figure that out.
Cool. David, thank you very much.